Good day, everybody. It's Andrew here, and welcome back to my channel. So, when will stimulus checks for seniors be sent? When will the check be approved? Will it be $1,000, $1,400, $2,000? Is Bernie Sanders actually going to get this done for seniors? And when the heck will it be sent if so? Let's discuss the details, but before we jump into it, do me a quick favor, hit like, hit subscribe, and share this channel with anyone who you think might find this helpful. This is a community for seniors, and my job here is to be a voice for you, be a voice for seniors, and make sure that President Biden keeps his promises. He promised to increase Social Security benefits, increase SSI and SSDI, and even approve a stimulus check for seniors in this next stimulus package. Now, thank you so much for being a part of our community. And if you really want to support my work, subscribe to my second channel. The link to that is going to be in the comments of this video. And on that channel, we're going to have some updates as well. But we're also going to mix it up with things like playing bingo. You can play bingo with me. I'm going to be on camera with a live chat, so you could chat with me and chat with the community. I'm going to be giving away stimulus checks as well, and we're going to do some fun things like updates on the stock market, playing casino games. It's going to be really a variety kind of channel where it's going to be really a fun community for seniors, almost to forget about the serious topics we talk about on this channel. But with that said, folks, we have a ton of important updates, so let's get into it. When we think, based off of everything we know, the stimulus check for seniors could be sent. We have Chuck Schumer saying he's going to bring the stimulus package to a vote as soon as the Senate comes back on January 3rd. Then, of course, we have Joe Manchin saying he doesn't want to do the stimulus package, but then he says, you know what, we can do it if we do this, this, and that. So no daily trending news, folks. We're going to get straight to the point and all the topics that are kind of important when it comes to getting these stimulus checks approved. Now, of course, at this point, if you follow my channel, most of you know that Bernie Sanders wants to do a stimulus check for seniors, and his reason for that was to help seniors cover medical costs until Medicare can be fully expanded. Now, a lot of people said, well, I don't want a stimulus check for medical expenses. I want to be able to use it on whatever I please. Well, the good news is he's pushing to make this a debit card, which means you could basically use it anywhere Visa is accepted. Now, he's pushing for $1,000. Some groups want it to be $1,400 or $2,000. Then we have President Biden saying, hey, we're trying to do it, but it could be as low as $800. These are all things that President Biden, Bernie Sanders, they all said this stuff. I'm not making it up. But the current situation is we have Joe Manchin making things more difficult because obviously he wants to lower the overall cost of the package. Now, we already covered the fact that the reason Joe Manchin flipped out was more of an emotional reaction, right? It wasn't a logical reaction. He got mad because it leaked out. Actually, Democrats leaked that he was saying that he didn't want to do the monthly stimulus checks for families because he was worried that people in West Virginia, his home state, were going to use the money to buy drugs and go hunting instead of really taking care of their kids or, things like that. So obviously that was a really bad look. He shouldn't be saying those things, right? If you don't say those things, they can't be leaked. So kind of shows you how Joe Manchin thinks. Obviously at this point, I'm completely tired of Joe Manchin. The only silver lining here is it looks like they're still going to work out a deal, but the most likely situation is they're going to cut those monthly stimulus payments for families. They're either going to completely take them out or they're going to lower them so less people qualify and they get less per month. So the good news there would be is if they do that, then there could be more money left over for the stimulus checks for seniors. That's something that Bernie Sanders is really, really pushing for. So Chuck Schumer came out blasting Joe Manchin, saying that he's going to bring this to a vote as soon as the Senate comes back from vacation. And if you look on your screen, these blue colored dates here, that means the Senate's back, and the yellow colored dates means that both the Senate and the House are in session, right? And the green is just the House. So even though we only have 1 week in January where both chambers are in session, January 3rd is the week, next week, when the Senate will be back. So Chuck Schumer has vowed to bring the stimulus check package to a vote, the Build Back Better stimulus package. And what we think is going to happen is they're going to bring it to a vote. Joe Manchin's going to vote no, right? Because he really doesn't care. Then they're going to start negotiating. Hey, what can we take out? What can we parse down? Because at the end of the day here, Joe Manchin is really moving the goalpost, right? He is saying, we're not doing the package at all. Then he's going to come back and say, well, we can do it, but we're going to have to take this, this, and this out. And that just keeps moving the goalposts, right? We started with a $6 trillion bill. Then it went down to a 3.5 trillion, then a 1.85 trillion. Now he's saying 1.5, and he says it's got to be 1.5 over the entire 10 years. Which, when you put it in perspective, we spend almost $1 trillion per year on the military. And again, a lot of folks that watch my channel are veterans, people who served in the military to protect this country, and we deserve to make sure that our national security, our military is taken care of. But at the same time, we have to take care of seniors as well, right? We have seniors who have paid taxes for 30, 40, 50 years. I have people in my comments, literally seniors who have paid for 50 years. I have seniors who are 85, 90 years old commenting on my videos saying, Andrew, I'm 90 years old. I worked between 17 and 70 years old, paid taxes for 50 years. Now the government is giving me a monthly Social Security payment of like $1,000. Like, are you kidding me? That is completely unacceptable. And folks, let me know in the comments if you agree. This is why our community here, our voice, our message is to say, hey, that's fine. Spend the money on the military. And you might disagree with that, but the point I'm trying to drive home here is you've got to take care of seniors and you've got to take care of children. I mean, someone put it perfectly in the comments of my videos. You don't choose to grow old, right? You don't choose to get sick. It's not your choice. It's going to happen. You can choose to have kids. You can choose to not work if you're young and healthy, but you can't choose to be 70 years old. You can't choose to need dental implants, to need prescription drugs, things like that. This is something that we keep fighting for on this channel, and it's something that Bernie Sanders keeps fighting for as well. Now, when it comes to timing of these stimulus checks, let's take a quick look. First of all, we got Joe Manchin, right, delaying the package. Then we've got the midterm elections in 2022, and this could potentially affect the timing as well, and I'll say why. Now, if you follow my channel, you know that Democrats for the last couple of years have been using stimulus checks to win elections. Yes, it's been proven to help them win elections. Those two Georgia Senate runoff elections, those two seats in Georgia in January, Democrats promised a third stimulus check. Then they won both of those seats, and then they delivered a third stimulus check. Of course, the stimulus checks weren't the only issue, right? There were a lot of issues at play here, but a lot of people think that was kind of the tipping point that moved the needle just enough to win both of those seats. Then Governor Newsom of California did the exact same thing. He gave actually a fifth stimulus check in California, and he won re-election there as well. So a lot of experts are saying that they're going to do another stimulus check before the elections to make sure they win those midterm elections to maintain control of both the House and the Senate. Now, how does that affect timing? Well, good news and bad news. The good news is that gives them a lot more leverage and a lot more incentive to actually approve the stimulus check for seniors, potentially even a fourth stimulus check for everybody. The problem is those midterm elections are not all the way till November. Right here, see November 8th? That's election day, and that is when those midterm elections are going to happen. So a lot of experts are theorizing that, hey, really, they might be using Joe Manchin as a scapegoat. They're going to keep delaying, right? We know Congress is good at one thing, and that's coming up with excuses to delay things. So some experts think they're going to keep delaying, right? They're going to wait all the way till October. Then they're going to do the exact same thing they did in January for the Georgia Senate seats. They're going to say, hey, if you vote for Democrats, we're going to do a fourth stimulus check for everybody. Maybe just a senior check, but probably for everybody if they're using it for the election. Then they're going to promise those stimulus checks, and if they win in November, then they'll send those stimulus checks out either at the end of November or early December. Now, folks, don't freak out. I'm not saying that's the most likely situation. I just want to let you know this is a theory that has a lot of credence. There's a good chance this might actually happen. Now, the best case scenario here would be that happens, but at that point, it's actually the fifth stimulus check or the fourth national stimulus check for everybody. And then earlier in the year, we'll at least get that stimulus check for seniors, right? So hopefully we'll get like a national fourth stimulus check for everybody in November after those elections. And then early this year in January, hopefully we'll get that specific stimulus check for seniors, which Bernie Sanders is still fighting for. So if you look at your calendar, on January on your left, the Senate will be back January 3rd, which is in about a week. Then the House will be back on January 10th. So let's talk about a best case scenario and a more realistic scenario. So, best case scenario, this first week when the Senate is back, Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin will work out a deal. They'll cut the monthly stimulus checks for families in half, something like that. It's just an example. Then that would provide enough funding to still do between $1,000 and $2,000 stimulus check for seniors, and hopefully they can bundle that up and have the details done by the end of the week. Again, that's a best case scenario, and it's wishful thinking when it comes to Congress, right? But if that best case scenario does happen, then the next week when the House comes back, by the end of that week, they can fully approve it in the House and then pass it to Joe Biden to fully sign it into law. That would mean that stimulus checks would begin to be sent out for seniors, either the end of the week, January 14th, or the beginning of the week after MLK Day on January 18th. So, in that best case scenario, when would you be most likely to get your check? Well, like we said before, these things come out in groups, kind of in waves. And every week we see about 10 to 20% of people get their stimulus check, right? So if you're lucky and you're in that first wave, you'd get it the third week of January, sometime between January 18th and January 23rd. Then we'd expect between 10 and 20% of people every week to get their stimulus check, right? So if you're in the earlier groups, you might get it at the end of January. If you're in the later groups, you might get it in the beginning or middle of February. And then, of course, there's always like 10 to 20% of people that for some reason slip through the cracks and don't get their stimulus check for a couple of months. But for the purposes of this video, in this best case scenario, most people would get their stimulus check either the last 2 weeks of January or the first 2 weeks of February. Now, again, that's a best case scenario. We're hoping this happens, but nothing is guaranteed. Bernie Sanders is pushing for the stimulus check. Of course, Joe Manchin is making things difficult, and Chuck Schumer has vowed to get the stimulus package done as soon as the first week of January. Again, not holding our breath, but it's a best case scenario. I also want to address the fact that seniors for the third stimulus check actually got their stimulus checks last, but the reason that happened was because the commissioner of the Social Security Administration, his name was Andrew Saul, and he was appointed by former President Trump. Now, just to spite President Biden and make things more difficult for Democrats, he purposely delayed the stimulus checks for seniors, and that made things really, really bad. And quite honestly, it was a political game in which the seniors were the casualties, right? Seniors had to wait. Most seniors waited a couple of months to get their stimulus checks when the general public got their stimulus checks after a couple of weeks. So Commissioner Andrew Saul's gone. So now we have a Democrat in place, which, whether you vote Democrat or Republican, the good news is they're more of advocates for stimulus checks. So we would expect seniors to get their stimulus checks more quickly is basically the point of what I'm trying to say here. So now a more realistic scenario here would be that the Senate probably wouldn't figure this out to the end of January. That's quite honestly still an optimistic plan. But if they got it done by the end of January, basically everything would be pushed back a month, right? And then most people would get their stimulus checks either at the end of February or the beginning to the middle of March. And again, in a best case scenario, we'll get the stimulus check for seniors in this package, currently the Build Back Better stimulus package. And then in November, December, we'll get a fourth nationwide stimulus check for everybody if Democrats try and use that same strategy to win the 2022 midterm elections. Again, this has been proven to work. It worked in Georgia. It worked for Governor Newsom in California. This is something that truly works. So we do expect Democrats to do it once again. So with that said, folks, that's our update for today. That's our expected timeline, a kind of realistic timeline of when stimulus checks could be approved, both specifically for seniors and a nationwide fourth stimulus check, based off of everything we know, based off of Joe Manchin negotiating with President Biden, based off of Bernie Sanders pushing for a stimulus check for seniors, based off of the 2022 midterm elections coming up next year. So with that said, we should have a lot of updates in the next couple of weeks. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will keep you posted as things develop on the next stimulus package, stimulus checks for seniors, Social Security changes, and daily trending news as well. So thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, take care and have a great day.